Inside America's prison gangs, blood, loyalty, and survival. Every year, tens of thousands of men walk into America's prisons, some for petty theft, some for violent crimes. But not all of them survive initiation, because behind these walls, loyalty isn't earned, it's paid in blood. And for some, the cost is life itself. This is a story of power, survival, and ritual. A story about gangs that run entire prisons, not from the street, but from inside cells where fear, violence, and brotherhood collide. This is blood in, blood out. Inside these walls, a different set of rules applies. Every prison has its hierarchy. Every inmate has a role, and every gang has a ritual that must be followed. When I first came in, I thought I could keep my head down. That was my first mistake. They watch you, they test you, and the moment you think you're safe, that's when they pull you in. The roots of America's prison gangs stretch back decades. In California, the Mexican Mafia, also known as Laim, was born from men who refused to be victims. In Texas, Aryan Brotherhood and Black Guerrilla Family rose, each claiming territory, power, and respect. For these men, loyalty wasn't just a word. It was a lifeline, and the only way to prove it? Blood, literally. Blood in the initiation ritual that binds a man to a gang. It's not a handshake. It's not a promise. It's pain and its permanence. They call it a marker, but it's more than that. You bleed for it. You fight for it. And if you survive, you're part of the family. If you don't, well, no one ever talks about those who didn't. The ink tells a story. Each symbol, each line, a testament to where a man comes from and what he's willing to do to survive. Once the blood has been shed, a second oath comes into play. Omerta, the code of silence. Speak and you die. Break it, and not even your family is safe. It's a world where trust is the rarest currency and betrayal is the most dangerous crime. For outsiders, it might seem like chaos. But inside, it's a machine built on rituals, hierarchy, and fear. And the higher you climb, the bloodier it gets. Blood paid in pain. In prison, every decision can be a life or death choice. For those seeking protection, respect, or power, joining a gang is not optional. It's survival. But initiation is never easy. Blood in is a test, a trial by fire, and it doesn't forgive hesitation. The ritual begins with the offer. A man is chosen. Sometimes he volunteers. Sometimes he's chosen by force. Either way, the outcome is the same: pain, fear, and a lesson in obedience. The first step is often the most brutal, a fight that proves strength, endurance, and loyalty. The fight is rarely fair. Rules are minimal. Injuries are common. And for some, the lesson is permanent. A single punch can break a jaw. A single mistake can cost more than pride. It can cost life. Those who survive are not only stronger, they are marked, physically and mentally, as members of a gang that will own their loyalty forever. After the fight comes the ink, homemade needles, burned metal, and ink that seeps into flesh. Each line a promise. Each drop of blood a symbol. The tattoos tell a story that cannot be erased, a permanent reminder that the man belongs to something bigger, darker, and deadly. To outsiders, it's just a mark. To those inside, it is a lifeline and sometimes a sentence. But it's not just a fight or the tattoo that binds a man. It's the fear of what comes next, the code of silence, the unspoken rule that every action, every word, and every loyalty is tested. Betrayal is punished swiftly, sometimes with death, sometimes with a fate worse than death. In prison, fear is currency, and blood is the price you pay to earn it. Not everyone makes it through. Some fail to fight. Some refuse the tattoo. Some break the code before it's even fully learned. The consequences are immediate, brutal, and unforgettable. Bodies are left as warnings. Silence is enforced by fear, and survival is guaranteed only to those who fully accept the rules of the game. Blood in is more than a ritual. It is a baptism into a world where life and death are measured not in years, but in loyalty, obedience, and sacrifice. Once the blood has been shed, there is no turning back. The man is no longer just an inmate. He is a member of something far greater, far more dangerous, and far more permanent than he could have imagined when he first walked through the gates. The gang hierarchy is clear, rigid, and enforced without mercy. At the top are the leaders, the men who control territories, contraband, and influence. Below them, the soldiers, those who enforce rules, collect debts, and mete out punishment. And at the bottom, the initiates, those who bleed for their place, hoping they survive long enough to climb the ranks. Every inmate learns quickly. Power inside these walls is not given. It is taken, earned, or imposed. And in a world where loyalty is bought in blood, the cost is never small, and the stakes are always life or death. Betrayal behind bars. Inside prison walls, survival is measured not just by strength, but by trust. And trust is the rarest commodity of all. Every gang has its enemies, some within, some across the yard. And the moment loyalty falters, chaos erupts. Prisons are microcosms of society, but magnified. Power is absolute, and punishment is immediate. Every whisper, every glance, every movement is observed. One wrong step, one misread signal, and a man can find himself at the mercy of those he once called brothers. Betrayal in prison is rarely public. It's subtle, strategic, and deadly. One inmate reveals a secret. Another refuses an order. The hierarchy watches, waits, and strikes with precision when blood has already been shed to join a gang. Shedding it again is often the only way to enforce discipline. One of the most infamous incidents in modern prison history occurred in a California supermax. A gang member, newly initiated, was suspected of cooperating with authorities. The warning was subtle. A note slipped under his cell, a nod from the leader, but the consequences were anything but subtle. Within hours, the inmate was confronted. A fight erupted, fists swinging, blood spilling. Within the confined space, there was no escape. By the time guards arrived, the message was clear. Loyalty is absolute and betrayal is fatal. Stories like this are not uncommon. Inmates live in a constant state of vigilance. Alliances shift, rivalries fester, and the next act of violence is always around the corner. For those inside, survival is as much about reading people as it is about raw strength. A single misstep can mean death or worse. Prison gangs communicate in codes, symbols, and gestures. A tattoo can mark loyalty, a hand sign can signal allegiance, and a scratched line on a wall can be a warning or a threat. Every mark tells a story. Every gesture carries weight. And for those who ignore them, the consequences are swift and merciless. These symbols are more than decoration. They are the language of survival. They mark territory, convey orders, and, in some cases, mark men for death. For a gang member, understanding this language is not optional. It's essential. And every misinterpretation, every lapse can be fatal. Inside the cell blocks, the rules are simple but deadly. Obey, respect, survive. Those who rise to the ranks do so by enforcing the rules, collecting debts, and proving their loyalty again and again. Those who fail often vanish quietly. In some cases, no one even knows what happened, except for the gang that made the decision. The deeper a man goes into this world, the more he realizes that prison is not just a place. It's a machine designed to test loyalty, instill fear, and reward ruthlessness. Betrayal is inevitable. Violence is constant. And the blood shed in initiation is nothing compared to the blood shed to enforce obedience. Every act of violence, every secret betrayal, every silent execution carries a message. This is who rules. This is who survives. And this is the world of America's prison gangs. A world where trust is a weapon, loyalty is life, and betrayal is the ultimate crime. Empires behind bars. Beyond the yard, beyond the fights, and beyond the initiation lies the true power of prison gangs, control. Some inmates rise not through brute strength alone, but through cunning, strategy, and influence that stretches far beyond the cell block. At the top are the leaders, the men whose names are whispered with fear, whose orders ripple through entire prisons, and whose influence reaches the streets outside. They do not merely survive, they dominate. Every transaction, every deal, every act of violence is orchestrated with precision, reinforcing their power. These men run empires from within their cells. Contraband, drugs, weapons, money, all flow under their command. And while they appear confined, their reach is anything but limited. From solitary confinement to the recreation yard, from one prison to another, their power is absolute. The Mexican Mafia, also known as La Im, has been known to control entire counties from behind bars. Orders for hits, intimidation, and extortion move through coded messages, visitors, and trusted lieutenants. The Aryan Brotherhood, the Black Guerrilla Family, and other gangs operate similarly, creating a web of influence so intricate it rivals organized crime syndicates on the outside. Control in prison is enforced through fear, loyalty, and ruthlessness. Those who question authority disappear, sometimes permanently. Those who obey rise, gaining protection, privileges, and respect. Every move is calculated. Every decision has consequences. And the leaders watch constantly, evaluating, plotting, and asserting dominance. Power in prison is not just physical. It's psychological. It's intimidation, manipulation, and reputation. A single glance, a word whispered in the wrong ear, or a misstep in protocol can shift the balance of power, changing alliances and triggering violence. Symbols, tattoos, and coded language are the currency of communication. A single tattoo can mark a man as untouchable or as expendable. Each symbol tells a story, identifies allegiance, and warns enemies. Leaders use these signs to maintain order and remind everyone who truly controls a prison. Some leaders are violent, some are strategic, and some are both. They understand the value of loyalty, the cost of betrayal, and the weight of fear. Their reputation is their weapon, and their decisions shape the lives of thousands of inmates. Power is absolute, and failure is never forgiven. Behind every act of violence, behind every contraband deal, and behind every execution is a message. This is who runs this prison. This is who survives. And for those who wish to rise, the path is perilous. One wrong move can mean death. One misjudged alliance can cost everything. Prison empires are maintained not by chaos alone, but by structure, rituals, and discipline. Bloodshed enforces loyalty. Fear maintains order. Respect solidifies power. And in this world, the most dangerous men are not necessarily the strongest. They're the ones who understand the game, control it, and manipulate it from the shadows. To outsiders, it may seem unimaginable. Empires control from behind bars, where freedom is restricted but influence is boundless. Yet for those inside, this is reality. The prison is a kingdom. The gangs are its rulers, and every inmate must navigate the deadly politics or risk being destroyed. In the world of America's prison gangs, power is never given. It is taken, earned, and enforced, always at the cost of blood, loyalty, and sometimes life itself. Kings of the cell blocks. In every prison, there are rulers, men whose names command fear, whose reputations extend beyond walls, and whose influence shapes life and death inside. These are the kings of the cell blocks, the architects of power and the enforcers of loyalty. Some of these leaders started as young, desperate men, stepping into a world of violence with nothing but fear in their hearts. Others were calculated strategists, understanding from the beginning that survival meant more than strength. It meant manipulation, intelligence, and terror. One of the most infamous figures in prison history is Luis "Güero Buff" Flores, a founding member of the Mexican Mafia. From the moment he entered the system, Flores understood the rules: respect, loyalty, and blood. He enforced them with a combination of brutal violence and strategic control that left entire prisons under his influence. Then there's Robert Bobby, R., from the Aryan Brotherhood, whose name alone could silence a yard. Known for his cunning and ruthlessness, R. built an empire within the walls, controlling contraband, orchestrating hits, and manipulating rival gangs to serve his interests. His reign was marked by fear, obedience, and bloody enforcement. Leaders like these did not merely survive, they dominated. Every decision, every execution, every alliance was calculated to maintain power and instill obedience. They understood that authority is fragile, and the slightest sign of weakness invites chaos. Internal wars between gangs are inevitable. Territory is contested. Influence is challenged. Rivalries fester, and the prison becomes a battleground. The fights are not only physical. They are psychological wars, waged with strategy, fear, and intimidation. Lives are lost, reputations are built, and every act of violence sends a message. One notorious example occurred in the California Supermax, where a dispute between two rival gangs escalated into a full-scale riot. Over 40 inmates were injured, several critically, as power shifted between factions. The leaders orchestrated these events from their cells, using coded messages, trusted lieutenants, and intimidation to maintain control. Power is not given, it is seized. Respect is not earned, it is demanded, and betrayal is always punished, often in the most brutal ways imaginable. For every loyal soldier who climbs the ranks, there are countless others who fail, their fates sealed by the very blood they spill to prove themselves. These leaders understand the language of fear. They know that one glance can command obedience, one gesture can communicate a threat, and one act of violence can rewrite the balance of power. Their control is absolute, their reach extends beyond bars, and their influence shapes not only the present but the future of the prison system. To survive under these kings, inmates must learn the rules, obey the hierarchy, and endure rituals that test every ounce of their courage. One misstep, one betrayal, and they risk becoming just another story, a cautionary tale told in whispers among the shadows of the cell block. This is the reality of America's prison gangs, ruthless leaders, deadly politics, and a system where blood is the ultimate currency. Here, power is everything. Survival is measured in loyalty, and the kings of the cell blocks rule in iron fists, their legacies written in scars, tattoos, and blood. Blood never dries. In America's prisons, blood is more than a symbol. It is a currency of survival. It marks loyalty, enforces obedience, and writes the history of gangs that rule from behind bars. From initiation fights to coded tattoos, from whispered threats to full-scale riots, every drop tells a story of power, fear, and unbreakable bonds. The world behind these walls is brutal, unforgiving, and absolute. Gangs rise and fall. Leaders are deposed or killed. Alliances shift in an instant. Yet the system endures because the rules are clear and the consequences are deadly. For those inside, life is a constant test of courage and cunning. Every decision can mean survival or death. Every act of loyalty is a step toward respect. Every betrayal is a sentence, often permanent. And while outsiders may never understand it, for inmates, the rules are crystal clear, blood in, blood out. Even after release, the legacy lingers. Tattoos fade, leaders are imprisoned or killed, but the lessons of the yard never leave a man. Loyalty, fear, and survival. These are etched into every scar, every mark, and every story that emerges from America's prisons. The rituals, the battles, the codes, they are more than tradition. They are survival mechanisms, a brutal education in the cost of power. And in this world, every man learns that freedom is fragile, trust is rare, and blood is the only currency that truly matters. So when you think of America's prison gangs, remember this. Behind every wall, every locked door, and every shadowed corridor, a story of loyalty, betrayal, and blood is unfolding. And once a man has paid the price, he can never truly escape it. Blood in, blood out. It is a warning. It is a reality. And it is a truth that no one walks away from unscathed,